Some of my favorite things about elk hunting are just watching elk and watching elk with good buddies. It doesn't get any better. Elk are completely my favorite animal. I just love them, love hunting them, love everything about them. That's a giant bull, giant bull. So just a special situation to be able to hunt bulls up here in Montana. For me, it doesn't get any better.
Hunting with family was a big part of how I grew up, and it's a big part of who I am. And so when it comes to hunting with family and friends, I really cherish these experiences that I can have with people that I'm close with. So I had the opportunity to hunt some awesome private land with a friend, and I took it. I've never done this before, and it was a different style of hunting that I don't normally do, but this is one of those situations where you gotta just go and soak up and enjoy the elk. You're soaking up the action, all the calling, everything that you can think of when it comes to rutting elk. This is the type of experience that you're gonna have here. It was a no-brainer for me, and experiencing that and sharing it with my brother and one of my longtime friends behind the camera, truly a special time.
Lots of bulls. Kind of one of those things, there's so many bulls and they're out in the wide open. It's probably just better that we post up in the timber and just let them come.
Where's the water?
Yeah, we sit at, there's a water hole back here. We'll just sit at that. Because there's just so much going on. It's like, it's really wide open. It's like, what do you do, you know? Christmas trees or down in this stuff?
Well, if we're down there, we can see down better.
And if they come across, we can shoot them better.
Yeah.
And now we wait. Love hunting, hate waiting. Now we got a downward wind here. These bulls are around the corner. We bumped off and there's actually a lot of elk below us too. But, you know, it's private land. They're not in a hurry to come back into the timber and bed and to get under cover. They just don't get the pressure. So it's just, that's typical what you'll see on elk with very little pressure. So it might not be 9, 10, 11 o'clock until they come into this timber to bed, but we'll be ready for them, so should be cool, should be good. They're just ripping out there. There's a bunch of them. There's a lot of elk below us too, so we're just gonna have to watch the wind. You know, we're on top, so we have downward thermals, so we'll just see what happens and see how this works out.
So the main tactic with this hunt is basically sitting water. That's what it was. And I don't normally do that for elk. I like to get out and hunt them, but in the situation where it's the only source of water on the mountain, the property in the area that I was hunting was relatively small, and so you don't want your presence to be too extreme there and push elk and spook elk off the property or off onto neighboring private land. So we're really treading lightly here, hence why we're hunting the waterhole and just sitting most of the day. The first day was definitely just an incredible experience of just hanging out and enjoying bugling, enjoying elk.
Not quite a shooter. See him. Pretty nice bull right there. Did you see that? Just a young 6, 300 inch. Must be a hot cow. Couple bulls right up this way. Perfect spot.
I think that first day, that entire day of hunting that water, there was only about 45 minutes of silence, maybe in the middle of the afternoon, where we weren't hearing some sort of elk talk, whether it was bugling or cow calling. And so talk about just a cool experience of bulls coming in and cows coming in and filtering in and out of the water. And of course, we want to be selective. We're not here just to shoot a bull or the first thing that steps out in front of us. So we took the first day and just really soaked it all in.
this kind of staging where we can chase bugles. They're still out feeding right now, but it's just a waiting game. They'll be heading this way. I think they are heading this way. I can hear them slowly getting closer, but it might take a bit.
Okay, so the second day we needed a little bit of variety, so we did want to hunt a little bit, but we're really hunting slowly. We're not covering country. Once again, we're tiptoeing around the bedding area once these elk have gone to bed, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So we spent some time and we tiptoed around in the dark timber and we encountered that great 6-point. And why he spooked, I still haven't figured it out yet. I think for the fact that he was down in this thick patch of trees, I couldn't really see him, but he was rubbing and just doing his thing and calling, and we called back. And we just chose to wait him out. And after probably 30 minutes, he decided to expose himself and he came out, and ultimately, he didn't see any elk up on the hill or through the timber where I was calling from. So I think that's why he was barking at me. But these old bulls are smart. I don't care if it's public land or private land. These bulls that are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, if they don't see or hear an elk from where that calling is coming from, they're probably gonna boogie out of there. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Must have seen us. I don't know what happened. He saw us or caught a whiff of us or something, but
The next day we decided to really tread lightly but sit water. As we crept into the area at first light, close to the water hole, the wind was really goofy, some weather had come in, we didn't have our sunshine anymore, a front was coming through. And so we really wanted to be careful. And if you've ever sat water before, you know that the main hurdle is the wind.
We're at 68. The wall is at 64, so it's quite the drop down in there.
To the what?
The wall. The water hole. 400 feet down,
As far as you can see.
basically.
So we set up a little bit farther away. My brother hung back a little bit just to minimize the scent that we had in the area.
Smell this right there. There you go.
And right at first light, this bull came in and he hit the water and he smelled us. He spooked out of there and I knew we had to move.
We were wondering, with this wind, it's kind of bad. I think we need to move down below because it's going like this. Or up above. It's kind of hard to tell what direction it's going to stay at because it's been pretty swirly. Just a little bit too small of a bull, like a young bull still, 280 maybe. What do you do? It was cool.
But I really didn't even have any time to make any calculated movements. And before I know it, I hear cow talk back in the trees and here comes all these cows just kind of just melt out of the timber and they come down to the water. And it was your classic herd bull situation with 30 plus cows. You have the cows that come down, they're centuries and they're coming down, looking around and the water's down in this bottom. And so when the elk are down in the water, they can't really see. So in from the back comes the bull.
Straight up bull party. Lots of cows. It's a 7-point. That's our bull. That's our wood.
This is a bull that we hadn't seen yet, and talk about a gagger. This bull reveals himself around the trees and my heart just stopped. I was like, we haven't seen that bull before. And I mean, I knew this was it. This was the bull. But I also knew that we are on borrowed time and that literally any second we were gonna get winded. Our wind was just kind of coming uphill at an angle and just drifting. And so I knew I didn't have much time. So I was looking for that tiny window where I could get a shot at that bull. he went right down into the water, and so I had nothing, and all these cows are standing around, and before I knew it, before I could hardly even set my sight, they spook out. The hooves, it sounded like a herd of horses going out of there.
They're gonna smell us. I can feel the wind. She smelled it. Winded us. The wind's been terrible. Holy cow. He's huge. He's huge. Huge son of a I Kentucky windaged. Arrow flight was perfect. It was just a whisker high. It's like 68 is what I held for.
Now, luckily, the last 2 days, I had time to range my surroundings and range the trees behind the water hole, the far side of the pond, how close I would be if something came around to the near side of the pond. So I had these ranges in the back of my mind, and so I held high, knowing he was probably just beyond 60. As soon as that shot broke and it hung out, it seemed like forever. It just carried out there, and it hit him high. And obviously, the first thing that goes through your mind is a high hit, dead zone, terrible shot. And that's what it really did look like. But after a few gallops, I saw the blood. And I was like, holy smokes. Like, I knew I hit the artery. But that's the challenge with basically Kentucky windage. When you have a very small window to make it happen, things aren't always going to be perfect.
The one time I hit something in the dead zone and I hit the dorsal artery. Okay, 925. We haven't seen that bull, have we? That's a giant bull. Giant bull. A lot of cows. And a lot of cows.
Okay, so a situation like this where you hit a bull high and you hit that artery, that bull could run out to 60 yards and tip over in a matter of minutes, or he could run out, depending on how much of that artery you hit and how much blood loss he was actually experiencing. He could be alive for more than that, maybe up to an hour or so. So just in case, we gave him 2 hours, and then we decided to follow up on the blood trail. The blood was good the whole way, but as we were tracking him, he went about 200 yards. And I knew I was a little cautious, and I was like, man, I think we need to give him more time. We followed up on him, and we got down over to the east face where there was a bunch of timber, and we ended up bumping him out. He was literally in the thickest part of the Christmas trees and timber of that mountain, and he was on his last leg, but we bumped him out, and he went out across the sagebrush, little gully there, the basin, and he went about 100 yards, and then he stopped and he expired shortly thereafter. So that's a good testament of how tough these elk are. Looking at the footage, and we had the luxury of looking back at the footage and seeing that, you know, he was experiencing a lot of blood loss, and I definitely did hit that artery. We just needed to give him time. But, you know, they go and lay up and they don't move much, and they can spend, you know, some time and be alive. But in this case, he was almost there, and just that last little bump was enough to pump him out, and he expired pretty quickly. So definitely a new experience for me, as the type of shot and the type of blood trail and the type of tracking. And that's the beauty of bow hunting. Every scenario is different. So that's what you have to do, is you just have to reflect back on past experiences and just apply that knowledge that you've learned. That's a bull, huh? Look at this thing. Oh, wow. Wow. Hear those bulls in the background. Put this arrow away. Unreal. What a beast, guys. Look how skinny he is. All worn down from the rut. Big old fronts. You shoot a broadhead that is gonna save your bacon on a marginal hit. The hide is a hybrid head. It got mangled, but it still did its job. That's why I shoot a broadhead that has a big cut diameter. I cut that dorsal artery, and he went 400 yards. We jumped him out of his bed. We gave him 2 hours. We jumped him out of his bed. He came another 250 yards and tipped over. He was about expired, but that's why I shoot a broadhead like this, is to save your bacon on those marginal hits. He doesn't have a huge body.
No.
I don't mind that.
No, he's not. He's got a big chest.
Yeah.
His hands are pretty good, but he's sunk in the gut.
Yeah, look at, you can see his hip.
Yeah, and his front shoulder.
Yep.
Are you gonna cape him?
Yeah, yeah. Well, how about that? 2 years ago, we hunted together and you killed a monster. And this year, we got to hunt together and I killed a monster. Doesn't get any better. That's what it's all about, hunting with family. This is probably my most anticipated hunt of the year, to be able to hunt with my brother. You got a cow yesterday. Yep. We got to experience some awesome action. Just so fun.